Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another podcast with myself, Jaron Kleber, as your host, coming to you live from the Repair Shop of Tomorrow studios in Atlanta, Georgia. And today we are going to be talking all about business development groups, specifically inside of the NAPA Auto Care program. And so I've got some special guests here to help tell me their experiences with their BDG and to give everybody here listening some insight as to what it takes to really become a successful BDG. So let me go ahead and bring in our guests here. And I'm going to do my best to do a little introductions here, and then I'll let them kind of give their intro as well. So with me, first guest, we got Monte Craig. Monte is the owner of Automotive and Transmission in Reno, Nevada. And after doing some research, Monte, I realized that you've been there for 37 years. You started the shop when you were 19 years old, and it's now grown into a 14,000 square foot facility. You have 12 bays. You have a staff of 10 people, and you are currently the president of the Reno Sparks area BDG group. So quite the resume there, Monte. Appreciate you joining us today.
You bet.
The other guest we have with us is Mr. Roy Foster from Roy Foster's Automotive. Roy is a shop owner and also a coach for us at Repair Shop of Tomorrow. And Roy's business was started by his father in 1947. So Roy has continued the legacy in Reno and now has his sons working for him who are going to continue the legacy as well. And Roy had a pretty busy year, him and his team last year. They have a lot of accolades that they won. And I know Roy always accredits it to his team and to his customers, but 2023 NAPA Auto Care Center of the Year, 2023 Apex Shop of the Year, and 2023 AAA Shop of the Year. And Roy is also very active in the Reno Sparks BDG, and he's served on the NAPA Council out of Atlanta headquarters, I think 2 different times, right, Roy?
Yeah.
So, Roy, welcome. Always good to see you guys. And look, today, really want to talk about the importance of the BDG. And so, the first thing I guess I want to start with is take me all the way back to kind of the beginning. So how did the Reno Sparks BDG ultimately come together?
Well, it started, it was a long time ago. Our store owner, he decided he wanted us to put this group together, thought it would be healthy for the auto care centers in the area. So we did. We started meeting, and we decided we would give away a vehicle. We had this little minivan, one of the shop owners donated to the group, and we passed the van around, went completely through it, new tires, struts, all kinds of things like that. And then we found a family, which was really gratifying. This particular family, we had a lot of nominations, but the lady who ultimately received the van, single mom, she had 3 kids, and one was a toddler, 2 years old. One was, I want to say, either quadriplegic or paraplegic. And then another one was in some gifted and talented program. So during the day, she'd have to load all these kids onto the bus, and she'd get these kids to where they needed to go so she could ultimately go to work. And this was her routine. And then in reverse at the end of the day. So when we found her and gave her that van, it really blessed her life. And it really started the passion for, working together as a group. And so that's kind of was our inception.
So Monte, were you one of the original members of the group, or did you come in at a later date?
Yeah, I think I was there with Roy and Dave, and when we started everything, and Roy, I think they had attempted it, if I'm not correct, Roy, at an earlier point at some point, and it didn't stay together for some reason. I'm not sure what it was, but Roy had been through it before, and I'd known Roy. And the ironic thing in this story is that Roy and I went to the same high schools. We were 1 year apart. Roy 1 year older, and we never really knew each other. I mean, I did football and other stuff, and Roy, had other stuff going on. It's funny. It was a large high school, so it's definitely possible. But it's ironic we both came from a challenged high school in the area, and we both end up running the top shops in our area. It's just irony how it's all turned out. But yeah, we were there from the inception, and got everybody rolling in the group as they had designed, and it was pretty sketchy in the beginning.
So talk about that in the beginning as you guys were trying to put this together, right? And Roy or Monte, you kind of said like that it had kind of tried to happen before, maybe it faltered or whatnot. But when you were looking at coming together as a group, right, trying to help raise the industry, I mean, that's really the purpose of the BDG, is to help make each other better. So did you guys, like at your onset, were you kind of looking at, hey, we just want to bring people in, or did you make sure that there was like requirements, that they had to meet so that they could participate in this group?
I think the requirements, if I'm correct, Roy, was set up by Dave and the owner of our NAPA stores in our valley, that he owns all the stores in our area. But I think that was a requirement, and I think that a lot of us didn't really know each other. The larger shops in town, we'd all met each other because, like you said, traveling across the country, you kind of get together. And I had met some of these shop owners through a Jasper event with go-karts and all that kind of stuff. But we all kind of knew each other, but not very well. And I got to be honest, in the beginning, it was a very it's like getting a bunch of lions and bulls in the same room. It's dicey. You better watch out. You could get kicked really easy, So it was a little tough in the beginning. And I think the one thing that I remember, and one of my true regrets in the beginning, was they like the third meeting, they all wanted to do a shop tour, right? They all wanted to come around in this 15-passenger van and come and look at your shop. Well, I didn't want anything to do with that. So I didn't really trust these guys, didn't really know them all that well. And then I said, no, you're not coming by my shop, and hindsight being 2020, that was kind of, even in our case, which we've been very successful at, that's how difficult it was in the beginning to overcome those initial misconceptions about a group of great guys,
Yeah. So you bring up a great point. And so, I travel all across the country. I work with a lot of NAPA Auto Care centers, existing clients, prospective clients. I go in, I talk to these BDG groups, and, I think one of the challenges in the beginning, Roy, is how do we come together and trust each other, right? Like, how do we, to your point, Monty, right? Like, I don't want anybody walking in my shop. Like, I don't want them to see what I'm doing and maybe take customers away from me. And so how initially, when you guys kind of got through that onboarding stage, whatever we want to call it, right, Roy, how do you guys think you ultimately started to kind of open your eyes and trust one another and really understand that, hey, the purpose of this group is to help us all become better? We're not competition, right? We're the best shops in the area. Our goal is to become better. And talk I guess a little bit about maybe how that trust was started in the beginning.
Right. So I think the biggest thing we had to overcome is not look at each other as competitors, right? And, we had to commit to like attending these meetings. And as we attended the meetings and we started to lay out a vision, we started to create relationships. Like, hey, Monty's a pretty good guy. We started talking to each other, and, and that's
he didn't bully you in high school, Roy, is what you're saying then?
Not that I remember. I don't remember.
Okay. All right. Long time ago.
That came later. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
But yeah, once we overcame that, like, we're not competitors. It's a small group of us. And I think Monty would agree. Our group has mostly been the top shops in our area. And so a lot of really good operators, and we had, there was a lot we could learn from each other. And as we started to lay out a vision and, have some defined goals and work towards those, and, you know, had these successes together. It's just been really powerful for me and our group. I think we have at least 90, maybe 100% attendance pretty much month after month. So, and we're always helping each other out. Like, you know, my guy's called Monty, my guy Dave. I don't know how often Dave calls Monty about transmission stuff, but and then Monty's free to call us about drivability. You know, our backgrounds started a little different, so we have different strengths. We have different tools, help each other out, and it's not just us, but the entire group.
Yeah, I think it's really powerful. You know, I've you know, my previous life with spending, you know, 12 and a half years with NAPA, working for the corporate NAPA, you know, I helped put some BDGs together, right? There was some involvement, you know, running some of the meetings, kind of co-running these meetings, and the ones that were most successful, in my opinion, really they outlined that vision. They had that goal, right? And there's kind of like, to me, there's almost like these three pillars for your group or for the benefit of a BDG. The first thing is training. I think is huge, not just the technical training, but some of the management training, right, that we're going to talk about that Repair Shop of Tomorrow has provided for your group. Shop tours, Monty. Although you didn't like them in the beginning, you probably grew to love them, right? Like, because you get to see what other people are doing, and then when they come to your shop, they get to analyze and they get to tell you what potentially you could be doing to improve your workflow or whatever the case is. And then the last thing is, I think, the community involvement, and I know we'll talk a little bit about that too. But being involved in your community as a group. So for anybody listening out there, and if you're trying to set that vision, really try to stick to those three things. You mentioned, guys, that top shops. You guys pretty much have the top shops in the area that are in the auto care program participating in your BDG. I'm just curious, how many members does your group have currently?
I think we're hovering between 17 and 20. We did, you know, sometimes guys get involved in groups that really don't have their shops to the levels they need to, where they can commit the time. They're constantly putting out fires. You know, in your business, that's a real deal for a vast majority of the shops. But we understand that, and the commitment becomes a problem for some of them. And also, you know, you were talking about the trust and getting to open up. And the reality is, like Roy says, is, you know, his guy calls me, I call them. We switch scanners and tools back and forth, and ultimately, you know, the customer benefits from all that. And I think that's where it really starts to pierce the bubbles that we all have, is that we're all here for the same purpose, right? We're all here to take care of customers. We're all here to do it better than anybody else. So that's where the BDG really starts to wrap back around you and say and become a real valuable tool for you as an owner. And let's be honest, what secrets? What are we doing that you're not doing? You have the same day we have every day, right? So we're all fighting the same battle. So this silliness that we go on, that somehow we have an advantage, or that we don't want to give away our secret. There are no secrets. There are very limited advantages, right? But the advantages we do get, I think a lot of them has come from our PDG group as far as moving to the next level and stuff goes. So you really need to let it take you over, and everybody has their different time span and their different way they do that. But eventually you get to that point where you realize that this is a huge asset for me, and you're willing to reinvest or pour into it more than you were before.
I love that. I mean, you know, Monty, we were talking backstage right before we came on about just kind of the state of the industry, and you know, there's 290 million vehicles on the road. The average age of the vehicle is 12.7 years old. And to your point, right, like forming a group, sharing ideas, sharing best practices ultimately lets us serve those 290 million vehicles on the road better. And it ultimately gives the client a better experience. And there's plenty of cars for all of us to work on, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
And we got to get through that mindset that this guy sitting next to me in this group, yes, he's flying the NAPA flag with me, but that guy's my competitor. We have to get we've got to get that through out of our mindset. So you guys have kind of already talked about this as we've just kind of transitioned, but I'm curious, is there something that you could specifically point to in the BDG, Roy, that has ultimately you felt like has helped grow your business?
Um, I mean, all three of our goals, the community outreach, definitely has helped grow our business. It's given us great exposure to the community. It helps with our employee culture because they love seeing us involved in the community and they love being part of that too. Education, to grow our teams, right? So, like you talked about, manager training, advisor training, technician training. We need to be doing all those things, and then lost my train of thought. Sorry. And then just growing our businesses.
Yeah. So you mentioned a lot. I know you guys do a lot of training, right? And obviously that comes at a cost. And so we kind of, again, this is more an overview of what a BDG can do for you. Next month, teaser is what we call that, right? Next month, we're actually going to have Lauren Briggs from NAPA Auto Care on with us, really to talk about how to kind of start a BDG if you're interested. But obviously those things cost money to bring in. So I'm assuming, right, you guys are paying monthly dues into the group, and is that how you're able to do these other programs like training, community involvement, things like that?
Yeah. So our dues, talking to other BDGs, our group dues sound high, but it's such a small investment in my mind. We each put in a few $100 a month, but we have a pretty good, bank account in our BDG. So we're able to go out, reach out to get whatever training we want, or member benefits. Like we've gone out as a group, gone to see Jeff Foxworthy and, have dinner together, different member benefits as well.
So I think that's that's powerful to kind of say that, right? Because like I said, I've been in BDGs all across the country. There's some BDGs that really don't even pay dues, right? They just kind of get together, but that presents a challenge, right, Monty? Because if there's no funds coming in, then you can't do things like bring in Repair Shop of Tomorrow to help with coaching, or to bring in Napa Auto Tech to do technical training, right? So there's got to be a little skin in the game, I feel, to get the most benefit out of it. Last thing is, I'm curious, how has Napa's involvement, specifically your store owner, helped your guys' group, and what does that kind of look like? Because I'm teasing you a little bit because I know a little bit about your group, but I think it's very interesting to share what your store owner does for your group, because quite frankly, it's to me, it's pretty incredible.
Want me to take that, or you want it, Money?
Well, I mean, yeah, Dave has been instrumental in getting this whole thing started. I think that Dave, which would agree with us that the NAPA part of it is there and is why we're here. But also, I think he would agree, and I feel that NAPA could do a whole lot more. NAPA apparently is in the middle of a kind of a regime change, and they're making a lot of changes, and that's why there's so much interest in our group, is because even with the, well, I wouldn't say, what's a good word, right? Not the greatest support from NAPA, let's put it that way. And I think that's politically correct. But they're even with that, we flourished. So they're like, well, what are you guys doing? And now that we're online, how can we help you guys do even better? So I think that's where the recent attentions come from. But I think NAPA, of course, has been instrumental. NAPA has created this environment for us to even be a participant in. I think we've kind of passed it up as far as what they could do for us. Don't you agree, Roy, that we took it way farther than they could? And we are certainly looking forward to new input or new energy from NAPA, because it's desperately needed. So,
yeah, I would agree with that. And I just kind of go back to Dave, the local support. I think that's been instrumental in our group. He provides us, we have a great meeting room. It's really nice. It's painted nice. It's decorated nice. We have tables. We have our smart TV, our group invested in. So I feel like the local support is definitely there, and he's got some skin in the game. You know, him or his general managers usually at the meetings. They're involved in the BDG. They're also paying dues into the BDG. He provides us lunch, for our meetings, things like that. So I think the owner or the store owner having some skin in the game and being involved and being a member of the BDG is instrumental.
Yeah, and to go on to your point too, you talked about the dues and to me as a shop owner, the dues are cake. I think we're about $300 a month, but the dues are cake. It's the time that's the most valuable, right? We have to break away from our weekly nightmares or our daily challenges, right? So we have to take that, and the money doesn't seem relevant. But like you said, you need those dues. You need I think Roy would agree. Without our massive war chest, we couldn't have done near the stuff we did. In America, it's all about the money, right? You got to have that horsepower behind you. If you're going to be a presence, you better dress for the event, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and like I said, I was teeing it up just a tad because I have been in your guys' BDG meetings before, and for those that are listening, when they talk about their store owner has invested some time and effort and money, they use the training room at his main location, which it's upstairs. It's a beautiful training room. Roy talked about the group invested in the smart TV. I apparently wasn't smart enough because it took me a while to connect to it when I first got there. So I don't know what that says about me. But what I also thought was really cool is you had the pictures of all your shops hanging on the wall, right? And it just felt different. I've done a lot of BDG meetings in the back room of a Pizza Hut or at a bar somewhere, right, where the acoustics aren't good and it's hard to hear and present, right? And it doesn't really feel like a business meeting. It just kind of feels like we're just hanging out to hang out. And that's not the vibe that I got when I went to the Reno Sparks BDG group, right? There was an agenda, there was a format, and it was very well put together. And there was goals that were supposed to come out of those meetings, right? So I think that's a challenge. And I think, Monty, to your point, when you talk about, other groups and people inside the NAPA world, they talk about, the success of your guys' BDG group. It's because you have that structure, right? It's because you have those funds. And I think, a lot of it has to do with just kind of the environment, right, that you guys are in. And it just feels like when I walked in there, it just felt like, oh, wow, this is a business meeting, right? Like I'm here to grow. I'm here to learn. And I'm not saying you can't do that, right, offsite at some other facility, but it just seems to be that a lot of these meetings just kind of lack that sort of organization. And so what we were challenged to do was kind of help with some of that organization, right? And so we put together training modules that were specific for the NAPA BDG groups, right? And so I'm just going to throw this up here real quick so that you all can see this. So Repair Shop of Tomorrow, for those that don't know, we're NAPA's endorsed coaching company. And NAPA came to us and said, hey, we have these BDGs. They spend a lot of money doing technical training. What could you guys offer them from a management training? So our whole team went to work together. Roy had some involvement in this too, being that he's a coach with us. And we put together these kind of 6 foundational modules that we think really speak to the overall operation of the business, right? And so I'll just quickly go through them. So the modules are repair order workflow. We talk about workflow till we're blue in the face, right? If we don't have proper workflow, it doesn't really matter what else we have going on. Our shop's going to struggle, right? Driving profitability, right? That module is all focused on understanding those numbers that really matter in your business: effective labor rate, productivity, gross profit dollars per hour, right? Understanding them and then understanding what you can do to positively affect those. DVI, digital vehicle inspection. In my opinion, that's the best tool. That's implemented in our industry in the last 10 to 15 years. So we spend time talking about the importance of that. Advisor huddle. That's all about teaching your advisors to write a profitable repair order every single time. And then the last couple modules, we talk about marketing, predictive marketing, value-added proposition, which is a little unique to us, right? But you can learn the 3 foundations of marketing, right? New customer acquisition, retention, lost customer reactivation. And you can take this and you can go implement it yourself. And then the final piece is the business flow chart, where we're analyzing how to measure and manage your business through the data and through the reports that Repair Shop of Tomorrow puts together. So those are the 6 modules. We put 6 in place because typically most BDG groups meet every other month. And the thought process was we can watch these modules together as a group at the meeting. We can figure out what works, what doesn't work, right? We go back to our shops, we try to implement, we come back, we do the next module, and we kind of rinse and repeat until they're done. So something new that we're offering kind of in 2024, and we kind of introduced this at the end of last year, was also holding quarterly Zoom meetings. And these quarterly Zoom meetings do not have to be in the time that you're meeting, right? We can do these in the evening, we can do them during the day, but these will be on topics that really the BDGs want to learn more about. So maybe it's on how to manage people better. Maybe it's on how to acquire talent, right? The importance of the labor tracking. Roy's had a ton of success with the NAPA Auto Care apprentice program, right? So we feel like we've put a good package together for BDGs to focus on the training side, but more the management side of the business. And we know there's a lot of opportunities out there. And so I know your group went through our training. So the question I guess I'll pose to both of you first is, how did your group initially decide to participate, and what did that onboarding process kind of look like?
I can take that. So being familiar with it, I kind of presented it to the group, and it fits into our goals, training. Monty is coaching. He works with a different coaching company, as do other members of our group. But I think it was still healthy for our group. Like Monty said, there's no secrets, right? But we go through these modules, and it created some really good discussions and some really good things to think about, and maybe remind us of some of the things we know about that we're not implementing at the time. So I think it was healthy for our group, even for the guys that are having success with other coaching companies, which is great. Everybody should have a coach. It's not a one size fits all, but I think the videos were pretty valuable to us, and especially for some of the newer guys that are just becoming shop owners. I'm pretty sure that they got a lot out of that as well.
Yeah, Monty. So did you guys kind of follow our blueprint where you watched them together as a group and made those a part of your meeting, or were you guys kind of challenging your members to kind of watch them on their own?
Well, humans, if you leave them onto their own devices, don't really seem to follow through very well. But I think that's pretty well known to all of us in this room. But the shops are at different levels. Like any group of humans you assemble, you're going to have the guys that have more of it figured out than the others, and you're going to have the guys in the middle that are working hard. We've all been there. And then you got the guys that are just starting out, and then you got guys that are just not going to make it, right? So it is what it is. But in a group like this, I think you do get more advanced players because they are to the point where they're invited to these type of things. You certainly don't want to get an early stage guy because he's got just too much going on to try to really be a benefit to the group or to himself at this point. But once you reach the mid range and you're starting to figure things out, and like Roy said, coaching is a flavor that you choose, right? So it may not be for everybody, and I think we all agree that if everybody went with one coaching outfit, they'd be decimated, right? So there's plenty of, just like cars, there's plenty of work out there for everybody. As far as the group goes, I think Roy would agree that there's shops that are like myself and him that enjoy bringing the shops that are not quite at our level. We like seeing them grow. We like pouring into them. We like to see them, and we certainly will share anything that we've learned along the way to help them get there faster. So that's a real benefit of being a part of a group like that, is that, you know, you want to be successful, you better hang out with successful people. So I don't know how else to put that, but it's been one of our biggest benefits for myself and Roy. And of course, Roy and I, you know, it's sideways pressure, right? We're competing, even though we say we're not. We're competing. We don't want to be 10% behind each other. So we're gonna keep going. That's the great thing about a group, is that keeps you going, like having a great competitor down the street from you. You both battle it out. You both grow exponentially, right? It's just great, you know. So competition can be a super valuable tool. And yeah, there's a McDonald's across the street and there's a Burger King. They both do very well.
And they both really don't make that great of food, Monty, right? But
well, it doesn't seem like that's a big deal anymore. You know, it's all whether you can stay in your car and they'll bring you that terrible food, right?
yeah. It's all about the consistent experience. I talk about McDonald's all the time when I do trainings, and we talk about processes, right? You know, if McDonald's can teach a 16-year-old kid who may not even know how to tie their shoes to put 2 pickles on every hamburger that goes through the kitchen, then I certainly think that us as professionals in this industry can put together processes and make that consistency work across our shops. But so, I mean, you know, I think there's a lot of value, as we've talked about, in coming together as a group, right? We've talked about the community involvement, the training, all those aspects. Roy and Monty too, I'll pose the questions to both of you. Why should other BDGs, you know, participate in the RSOT training modules? And I'm not putting you on the spot or anything, right? But why would you suggest other BDGs participating through these modules through our program?
Well, I think it's a small investment, right? And it's going back to what I said before. It's just learning a lot of the fundamentals, the best practices, and it creates, you know, great discussions within the group. And as we have these discussions, you know, really the best learning that we get is peer to peer. You know, when Monty's like, well, this is working great in my shop, or this works good for me, and so on and so forth. There's a lot of power in that, and it creates those kinds of discussions. So, you know, for not too much money, I think there was a good value in it for us.
For us, I think that we talked about this in our last meeting, is that, you know, we as owners, we especially that have been around for a long time, like Roy and myself, is we get to the age or the mentality of you know, we want to give back. So not just to our people that take care of our customers, right? We want to give back to the community. We want to help other technicians who don't even work for us, right? We want to make sure that ultimately these shops do better and do well, because ultimately our industry will benefit, especially locally, right? So if you're the biggest shop in the world, nobody's going to know if they don't live in your valley or your town or your lake or whatever it is. So, you know, how do we do it? One shop at a time in every small market. And Roy, I think our goal is that when we leave this industry at some point, we want to make sure that we have people that can follow up behind us. We want to make sure that we have left a good legacy. We want to make sure that we've left a great opportunity for those folks to do better than we did. So our industry's changed how much, Roy, in the last 4 years? Completely, right? Yeah. So our guys can make good money. It can be a great career. It can be all the things we and myself and Roy dreamed it could be, but the money was never really there, right? So nowadays, our industry has changed so much that for the first time in my career, the money is there, right? So now it's a great opportunity. And these groups that you can, any great group you get involved in, I've taken away way more than I've contributed, right? But that's how you learn, right? If you have a great person in your life that brings you up, not one level, but 5 levels, imagine if you hadn't met that person. You know, Roy and I talk to shop owners, and we see them in the beginning of their careers, and you're like, gosh, it was years ago I had to worry about stuff like that. You know what I mean? So it's just amazing how far we've all come, even in our group, how much we've leveled up since we started the group. So in my opinion, it's simply a way to give back. You know, why do we do this? Because we care about people, we can fix things, right? That's it. So the more we can all do that, the more our industry and our customers and what it is auto repair shops do, make a great experience for our customers and give us the heads up.
Yeah, and I love that, and I'm writing something down here. You know, you mentioned the industry and how the industry's changed, and it's great, right? And I think I think in just in general in business or in life, right? Like I think our calling, so to speak, is, you know, we're always wanting to, I hope most of us, right? We're wanting to find that shop owner, we're wanting to find that person, and we're wanting to bring them up, right? We're wanting them to bring them to our level. That's one thing. The second thing is, you know, we kind of align ourselves with peers or businesses that are kind of similar to us, right? So, you know, we're bringing somebody up, we're networking with people who are kind of on our same level. But then that third piece is there's always someone that may be doing it a little bit better that we're aspiring to try to get to, right? And I think when you come together as a group, BDG groups, I think you're going to notice all those types of people, right? There's going to be the guys that have it all together. There's going to be the guys that are doing it really well. And then there's going to be some younger shop owners or some struggling shop owners that we can bring along for the ride. So, you know, if anybody is interested in learning more about the RSOT modules, about the program, my number, my email scrolling here at the bottom. You can also just go to our website, repairshopoftomorrow.com. Go over to the programs tab, and you can learn all about the BDG site. So, Roy, Monty, I want to thank you guys. You're so gracious with your time. I know I put you on the spot a couple times, so I appreciate you being here. And look, I'm excited about 2024. I know we've had some discussions offline, Monty, Roy. You know, this is still a great industry to be in, and I think we're going to have a great year. And again, thank you guys for being here.
Thanks, Jaron. Thanks, Monty.
Great talking to you guys.
Thanks, guys.
Take care.
Bye-bye.